On the podcast today, I want to go through a real example of how great it can be when you have families matter most in your corner and how it's different from therapy, reading books, taking courses, which are all good things. But I am not that. I am a certified life coach, a health and nutrition coach. I am a parent coach. I'm like super nanny. I can come into your house. I'm able to observe and notice what's going on. And because I've worked with literally thousands of families, I can tell you pretty quickly A, what the problem is, and B, the most important thing, how to get results. I can help you take care of yourself, reach your own goals, and reach the hearts of your kids and have a really great relationship with you. I know that's what you want. Here's an example of how much I've seen and how I can help you quickly to get the results you want. When I'm out doing events, I was a guest on a radio show, and we were talking about after school anger and anxiety in our kids. And during a commercial break, a staff member comes up to me. His name's Frank. He's like, Jen, quick, do you have a couple of minutes? Like, yes, give it to me. Tell me, Frank, what's going on? He says, okay, we have a 4-year-old and my wife and I are struggling because I love my child, love the things, but there's issues. There's issues here because I should use a different name. Sean, is it weird that you're there? Maybe not. Okay. I'm going to redo this. Sean, I'm going to cut Frank out because I shouldn't be using real people. I'm going to go back. I was a guest on a radio show. And during the commercial break, literally, we have 3 to 5 minutes in commercials. A staff member comes running up to me. Jen, do you have a second? What can we do? My wife and I were struggling. Let's say his name was John. John says, my wife and I are struggling. We have a preschooler, great kid, love him. But for some reason, he listens to me, the dad. He doesn't listen to my wife. He won't listen to her. And we notice it. We notice that when I'm around, I can get our child to obey. He's wonderful. He'll say, yes, dad, whatever. But if mom asks him something, all of a sudden it's a struggle. It won't work. And in that brief interaction, I can make a couple of really, really solid guesses. I can say, okay, without knowing more, I'm pretty confident this could be your issue because I see it so often. I'm going to say, okay, first of all, I bet, dad, you have a deeper, louder voice, don't you? Yes. That's a pretty good assumption, isn't it? Dad, you are using your voice. If you give your child, let's say his son's name is Connor, you tell Connor to go get your backpack and he doesn't. What do, Dad? You get louder and your voice is deeper. Connor, you listen to daddy. And Connor says, yes, daddy, he obeys. So he is responding. Connor is responding really well to the tone of dad's voice, the volume of his voice. And that's not fair to mom. So just briefly, I can say probably that's what's going on. Probably mom, she has a softer voice, a higher voice, and she's not able to raise volume and deepen that tone to get the result. So I said, that's not fair, dad. You can't do that. So John, you need to work on having Connor respond to your words, not your volume, not your body language, not the stomping, the size of dad. In fact, dad should be able to whisper. So I said, John, I want you to practice. If you give an instruction, I want you to be softer. In fact, you should be able to whisper. You should be able to say, hey, Connor, you need to get your backpack. And he should respond the same because the goal is we want our kids to respond to our words, not the tone of our voice, the volume of our voice, or our body language. Because you see where this goes, right? Over time, you've got a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, a teenager. How loud are you going to have to get? What is your body language going to have to do? So that's step one. Step one is, dad, watch your tone. Probably you're using that to your advantage. And that's not fair to mom because she doesn't have that tool. Secondly, I said probably mom is using too many words. Probably mom is saying, hey, Connor, can you get your backpack? Please, Connor, will you listen to mommy? Oh, Connor, I want you to, it's your backpack. If you don't get your backpack, this is what's going to happen. And Connor is having none of it. And then what happens? Dad probably steps in and says, Connor, You listen to your mother. And then he does, right? So can you see how there's this perfect storm? Dad has to work on using more soft words, and mom has to work on using less words. So that's a coaching tool that will probably help you if you can relate to the frustration of having a child respond better to one parent than the other. Likely one parent is using too many words and it's too frequent. It's, please listen to me. Oh, come on, do this. It's too many words on the front end. I like to teach you, give one instruction, one reminder, and then a consequence. And for a toddler, the consequence might be, I'm picking you up, we're going. So, for example, for both mom and dad, it could look like, Connor, in 2 minutes, we're going to need to get our backpack and get into the car. Connor, or maybe it's Connor, when this show is done, we're turning it off, we're getting our backpack and going to the car. Whatever that is. I think giving a little bit of warning is just kind. I like that as an adult. So I think we can do that for our kids. Giving them a little bit of warning when possible. I know it's not always possible, is a great thing. Then we need to follow through. We need to follow through. Connor, it's time to, or you need to. Connor, it's time to get our backpack now. It's time to turn the TV off now. It's time to get into the car now. Or, Connor, you need to get your backpack now. Notice how clear that is. It's not mean. It's firm. It's not harsh. Connor, and dad, in my example, dad needs to practice having a soft voice, not using tone or inflection or body language. Connor, it's time to turn the TV off now. We need to get into the car. Right? Very clear. One instruction. For mom, in my example, mom was using too many words. There's no, Connor, honey, baby, cutie pie. We need to think about getting our backpack ready for school. Would you like to? Can you please? Is it okay if? We're not doing any of that. We're saying, Connor, it's time to get your backpack. The words should be similar. I would love it if both parents could test this out together. You will be shocked at how powerful this is to get results without being harsh, right? Without having to raise our voice. One instruction. Then, just because I want us to be kind, I like to give one reminder. If we're not getting the result, then in this case, we might say, oh, Connor, I asked you to get your backpack. Connor, remember I said we need to turn the TV off now. One reminder. And instead of it being a threat would be like, Connor, if you don't turn the TV off, you're going to be in trouble, or I'm going to take it away for the rest of the day. That would be a threat. A bribe would be, Connor, if you turn the TV off, you'll get some more TV later. Connor, if you get your backpack, we'll have a special snack after school, right? That would be a bribe. I don't want either of those. I want a repeat. Connor, I asked you to turn the TV off. So I want you to talk about what you want him to do, not what you don't want him to do, right? Not a threat, not a bribe. Connor, remember, I gave you an instruction. I asked you to get your backpack. Connor, remember, we need to get in the car now. You're reminding of what you want him to do. That is one instruction, one reminder. I'm giving lots of examples, but one reminder, just one. If that doesn't work, we move to consequences. Connor, I asked you to get your backpack and you chose not to listen to me. I'm going to have to pick you up and get you into the car now. So now he's lost autonomy. Connor does not get the option to decide anymore. And for kids, sometimes that's enough. For kids, especially kids that love their autonomy, sometimes that's the consequence. Now you don't get to pick your shoes. Now you don't get to do it your way. Now I'm picking you up. I'm picking the backpack up. We're going to the car. It's a non-issue. We're not going to make it a big deal. We're going to move on with our life. Mentally, maybe you decide in your brain, okay, we're going to work on self-control. I'm going to make a note that when screens are on, it's really hard for Connor to listen. So I'm going to set up some practice time, not right now, to work on that, to build self-control around screens. I'm going to maybe make a note that, you know what, when Connor is asked to do something, he has been saying no and pushing back a lot. Okay, I'm going to set up some practicing time. We're going to practice giving Connor instructions and having him say, okay, and then doing it and following through. All of that we can file away for later, but for right now, it's just a consequence. If there's time and it's applicable and your child is at an age where you feel like, yeah, we're there, then there might be a true consequence of, okay, you know what? It is really hard for you to listen to mom and dad when the TV is on. We're going to take a break from that for a while, right? It's really hard for you to stop what you're doing when you're building Lego. So we're going to pause Lego right now because it is interfering with your ability to listen to mommy. Like that, those are all good things you could say appropriately, right? You could say, "Oh, that toy is really hard for you to share with your sibling. We're going to put it up here on the counter for now until we come up with a plan." All of these are consequences. Consequences doesn't have to just mean taking away screens, which is what the number one thing that we do. It doesn't have to mean a big deal. In fact, consequence can be a little thing. And I would argue that the smaller consequences can be way more effective. What we tend to do is make them bigger. Oh, you didn't listen to me when I took screens away for one day? Well, now you lose it for a week. And now you've lost it for a month. And now you don't get TV for a year and a half. Well, I know we do that, don't we? We do that. We cancel Christmas. We do all these things. But they're not effective. We tend to think that we need to make them bigger when in fact, what's more helpful is having a smaller consequence more often. So it has to be something that you can be okay with. It has to be, okay, you know what? We're not gonna have screens until we've worked on being able to listen to mom and dad. We'll try it again, but not today. For today, we're going to take a break. All of this is fine. These are all consequences that work. Fewer words on the front end, no threats, no bribes, one instruction, one reminder. Don't rely on the tone of voice. Don't rely on the volume. Just use your words. And that is the goal. That's the goal. So in a nutshell, I'm going into way more depth than I did in our 3-minute commercial break at the radio station. But in a nutshell, that's what's going on. And when I shared it with John, Connor's dad, I said, probably you're using the tone of your voice and volume, and probably mom is being too soft, too sweet, too many words on the front end. He was like, yep, that's 100% what we do. So they're going to go home and try that. It is insane how a 3-minute conversation can make a difference. Now imagine if we were working together. Yes. So reach out. Let me know what you need. Let me know if this has helped you. And if there's any other situations, send me an email. Send me a message. Let's talk about it on a future podcast episode.